This may be the single most important video that you watch on YouTube and maybe your entire life. Over the past 8 years, I've bought enough rental properties to quit my full-time job and essentially work on my own terms. This property behind me was the second purchase that I ever made, and it allows me to basically achieve financial freedom with this one property alone. And believe it or not, guys, I am not the only example of this. So don't sit here thinking that I'm just trying to brag. I'm only using myself as an example to show you the possibilities. I know plenty of other people that didn't even use their own money, and they're much further along than I am in the process of basically financial freedom. They achieved millionaire status much sooner than I did. It's because they focused much harder than I was ever able to. Well, why is me being financially free important? Actually, it's not. But it does show you that it's at least possible. See, I was a broke aircraft mechanic, barely scraping by before I had any of what I have now. And that was back when shit was extremely cheap compared to what it is today. So, how did I do it? Well, I'm going to be honest. I landed a high-paying job and saved as much money as I could. I know what you're thinking. There's always a catch. These guys always act like it's easy. Well, trust me, it wasn't. The high-paying job was actually as a defense contractor in Afghanistan. So it actually wasn't very easy. But before I landed there, literally and figuratively speaking, I had a crummy job working on Air Force planes in Oklahoma, making a measly $23 an hour. And every 2 weeks, my account was basically drained a day after my paycheck hit the bank. So I took a chance and I started applying for the highest paying, most uncomfortable jobs I could. And again, I know what you're thinking. See, Steve, you were making a crap ton of money and you just invested it, and that's how you became a millionaire and basically retired early. Well, no, not exactly. The only investment that I purchased with my money from the job was essentially my first purchase, which was a $45,000 house that was being rented for $700 a month. And after that, I only used profits from the equity in the properties I had or the profits from sales of those properties that I had purchased. See, the problem is everybody thinks that success happens overnight. The reason that most people never make it is because they can't put up with the suck long enough to get to financial freedom. When I first dreamed of being where I am today, I wasn't even dreaming about real estate being my out. I simply had one conversation with an old man that I worked with who, after working and saving for 30 years, shared with me that his 401k only had $300,000 in it as the balance. And as I sit here now, I can still remember having the immediate sense of urgency that I needed to change what I was doing in my life, or it would be like I was looking back at a mirror as I stared back at this old man. And so that's exactly what I did. And so what does all this mean for you? Well, if you haven't been burying your head in the sand, you realize that basically everything in America, the price of everything has doubled compared to what it used to be. Housing is much more expensive. You need to make over $100,000 a year in order to afford the average home in America. And as soon as they lower rates, the prices are going to continue to rise. So what does that mean? That means that we need to find ways to set ourselves apart and be able to just afford to live. And so how do you do that? Well, something I have learned since that day, and something I never quite recognized before then, is if you intentionally put your mind to something, you will achieve it. So you have to change your mindset and be prepared to suffer for a little while. At the time of me talking to that old man, in a matter of seconds, going through my mind was a memory that I remember someone had told me they had worked overseas and they had made roughly $120,000 a year. And back then, that was a ton of money. So when this man told me that he only had $300,000 in his 401k, I just started doing the math in my head. I thought, well, If I was the one working overseas and just had no bills at home, how long would it take me to accumulate that $300,000, the equivalent of what that man had in his account after working for 30 years? I thought, I could just save $70,000 a year and still have money to spend, and it would only take me 5 years to get there. Would those 5 years suck? Absolutely. But what's actually harder? Working 30 years to achieve that, or accomplishing it in only 5 years? Or how about I put it to you this way? Suffer now or suffer forever? And no, I didn't go and save $300,000 by any stroke of the imagination. But my simple change in mindset is what changed the trajectory of my life and has allowed me to be free of the grind. I no longer have to be anywhere when someone tells me to be. And it can change for you also. Just like that old man was for me, this video, and by extension that same old man, can change your life as well. And that's what I hope for you if you've gotten this far. So to anyone who needs guidance, to anyone who wants to take that next step, and this video didn't quite make the stars align, contact me or drop it in the comments down below, and I'll do my best to help make sure your vision is more clear on how to get to financial freedom. The only thing that you need to be prepared for up front is to know that it won't be easy. You have to embrace the suck. So for instance, if real estate is the route you think you will need to take in order to get to financial freedom, you have to know that it won't happen overnight. Virtually nothing is going to give you financial freedom overnight. There are going to be a lot of hard times, but eventually those all pay off, and the culmination of all of the efforts will finally be realized. Nothing worth doing is easy. And you have to also understand that money should never be the obstacle. Was money an obstacle in my situation? Well, actually, no, it wasn't. The job was. The high-paying job is what gave me the tools or the money to get to where I needed. Okay, so let's say that you can't find a job in your career field. There isn't a lot of those opportunities available in your career field. Well, okay, there's also something called OPM, or other people's money. See, you have to understand something that people with money already understand. And that's that money is like an army, and each dollar is like a soldier. And they want to use that army to go out and recruit more soldiers to grow that army. So don't for a second think that people will not lend you money if you're going to borrow it and give them more back in return. Rich people use money to make money. It is not there to pay bills for them. It is there to make them more money. And this concept doesn't only apply to real estate. This applies to virtually everything. It's going to suck. Money should never be the barrier to entry. And if it's easy, it's not worth doing. So you have to change your mindset. And once you do, and once you make the choice to do everything in your power to get out of the rat race, your life will start changing for the better. I promise. I'm basically living proof of this. So all right, guys, that's all I got. Like I said earlier, if you're struggling with your vision on how to get to financial freedom, drop it in the comments down below or contact me on my social media. There's a link in the description of this video, and I'll do whatever I can to help you kind of hone in that vision and try to help you get to where you need to go. And as always, the only way for you to be prepared is to stay informed. So if you would, please smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.